New for 96. With your hosts, Kevin McCauley and Chris Nguyen.
Let's carry on. We'll just post this picture in the show notes. Oh, God, we're recording.
Yep, we've been recording, buddy.
Oh,
Not taking back any that.
oh my God.
Were you ready for this?
Yeah. Have you been climbing?
Yes,
Rock climbing?
I have been.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
Don't you notice that now I am in shape? I am like a buff infant, a swole child. That's me.
Yeah, you're like the Pringles man coming out of that can.
Yeah. We'll post that in that we won't, because that reference should never be looked up. Please do not ever look up Naked Pringles Man.
Brother, probably should look it up. Yeah.
Anyways, welcome to another episode of New for 96. Oh,
It's not the same if we don't wait till minute 57.
It really isn't. We've been doing that a lot lately, where we forget to intro it, and then Kevin will interrupt. He will literally knock the equipment off the table and say, "Stop."
We have one thing to remember. That's like the only part of the format
Yeah,
that we actually try and stick to.
Yeah, and we forget, and then we have to dub it in later. So that's why
Yeah.
the audio sounds weird and we sound weird.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. Well, anyways, Kevin, do you
It's not
remember?
the 47 wires that are crossed.
Whatever. Kevin, do you remember when I first sent you TFTI in a text, and
And I
you're
said, I looked it up on
you
Urban
actually had to
Dictionary.
look it up on Urban Dictionary, like
Yeah.
the old that you are,
Yes.
and you figured it out that it meant what?
It meant. Oh wait, let me look it up. It says, "You're older than me."
Yeah, maybe not. Apparently,
I thought it
since
said,
I knew
"Thanks
that
for
meant.
the information," which seems sensible
No,
enough.
what? That sounds like what a grandma would be. Thanks for the information,
Yeah.
Sonny.
Yeah.
No.
My
What is it?
grandma used to say, like, when something was funny, she would say, like, she would slap her knee and say, "How comical!" And my sister,
But
and
not
I,
laugh, I hope.
No. And my sister and I, like, we really, we enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, do you like, hate, or have no feeling about when someone says that's funny, but then doesn't laugh or show any other emotion?
I don't encounter that, but that would be frustrating if I thought about it. I just kind of go through life not really thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
so
That's from now on. I'm not going to laugh at anything you say. I'm just going to say that's
from
funny.
now on.
But
I mean, ever.
in this, that's like Parker Posey kind of. That's funny. Yeah.
Who's Parker
Anyways,
Posey?
what? Oh, okay.
Oh,
we're gonna go off on a thing here.
That's fine.
All right.
She was in a couple movies in the 90s.
Yeah, she was in many movies in the 90s.
Couple.
Okay. All right. Back to TFTI.
Sure.
Because
Yes.
TFTI means.
Are we circling back?
Yeah. Will you please say what TFTI means?
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. So thanks for the invite on your last trip, Kevin. Where did you go?
I'm happy to provide you with the information.
Did you go to Germany?
I did.
Okay. Fine. Again.
Yes.
TFTI. So tell us, Kevin,
Don't
about
even-
your
I don't even know how I got
Your-
invited.
dumb trip.
Yeah. Well, I'll zip through this quickly. I went to Stuttgart again. So I flew into Stuttgart. Now I'm a seasoned veteran to
Yeah.
flying to
How-
Germany.
What was the time between the last trip and the current trip?
Like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was the same thing. I was on basically the same flight where it's like a 6 p.m. flight. Or no, it was like a 7 p.m. flight, but you get there at like 9 in the morning the next day, 8:30, and it's like, well, time to start the day. So I slept a little on the plane. I'm really getting granular here, but we get there and we went to the museum again.
Yep.
I was able to take I lived my life through like, I was able to take a picture that I was happy with. So
True.
the afternoon was worth it. Like this
Yeah.
was worth, like the moment was good. That's just how I remember pieces of things.
Oh my God.
And it's like, I went to the museum again. Of course it was cool. Of course nothing
Kevin.
had really changed.
Have you ever heard of living in the moment? Put
Yeah.
down the phone.
No.
Live in the moment.
So actually I observed there's a lot of cool cars in the museum. You heard our tour guide on the
Yeah.
previous episode, but there was a car. There was like a 1981 Carrera. It was a 4-wheel drive 911 Turbo Cabrio, and it was like pearl
Wow.
white,
Yeah.
and it was super cool.
Yeah.
And it had, but it was like that's like the first 4-wheel drive 911 I think ever. One of one prototype concept.
Oh, is it G model?
It was a G model, like 81 turbo, but
Oh.
Cabrio 4-wheel drive.
Whoa.
Very cool. And right next to that was that like 924. It was the 924 Carrera GT concept, which
Yeah.
had the weird like red leather steering wheel with the GIMP zipper on it.
Yeah.
I sent that to the group.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was an interesting one. It was
Yeah.
a lot of mixed emotions with that one.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
So, don't Jesus. So the museum was good. Then stayed there. Was with a really small group, people from Porsche, and we went. So we kind of decided on like, oh, we're gonna do the next day, and basically that was a Sunday. We got there Monday. We drove across Germany,
Yeah.
into East Germany,
In
into former East Germany, in Porsche 992s.
992s.
So we
the most
went-
important part of the story here.
Oh, there would be plenty of time to get to that. So we picked up our cars at Porsche 1, which is like the first building.
Yeah.
Which is where
This is it. This is epicenter.
this is where we dropped off the cars a month and a half ago
Yeah.
when we returned the Speedster.
And what were you driving in the previous trip? Just as a recap.
Previous trip, GT2 RS, GT3 RS, and Speedster. But I
So
spent
now-
most of the time in the Speedster.
Yeah.
And we drove back from Belgium to Germany in the Speedster. So we returned it to Porsche 1, which is like where it used to be. This is the building where the 917s were built.
Yeah.
Like the photo of all the 917s lined up is outside of this
And-
building. And now it's still the oldest building at Porsche. It's right in Zuffenhausen, but it's like PR.
Yeah.
And also they have this whole experience of like, this is where if you do European delivery or
Yeah.
if you do like a factory pickup, this is where you get your car.
Yeah.
And so they kind of guided us through like that process where well, first of all, if you're customizing a car, you could do all the Porsche individual stuff, and they have all these drawers of
so
leathers and all these different things.
This is where you do ED. Erectile dysfunction or European delivery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think if you were doing European delivery like in another continent, you would just do this at your dealer. But I think if you're in Europe, you would go here and like they have all these drawers of colors
Yeah.
and all these things. I mean, you could go there, but it's a big trip to plan your car and
Yeah.
not get your car.
Yeah.
But if you are getting your car, you go here.
Yep.
And they have this whole experience. I couldn't even take pictures, but they like open this door and you go to this room and there's like cars being like final prepped and
Yeah.
they just have the GT198 race car just sitting like in this room. I mean, and I say a room. It's like it's big. It's a really cool design. It's
Yeah.
all really nicely renovated
Yeah.
and new and clean looking. And just is like exactly what you want to see.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't even feel like a garage space. It
Yeah.
feels like an indoor space, and there's just a couple cars throughout going through final prep,
Yeah.
and then like this GT198 just sitting there,
That's
more
pretty
gigantic
cool.
and insane and cool
Yeah.
than ever. And I've seen that car many times, and it's probably my favorite race car, and it's just perfect.
That
So
is extremely cool.
you go through there, and then after that, they showed us all like where the color and options and stuff. I took a
Yeah.
picture because you can like spec different things on your door sills, like including kills bugs fast.
Wait, really? You can actually?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I think whatever you want, you
Oh.
could have your door sills light up with this word.
We used to be in advertising, and wouldn't it have been cool if we came up with like a headline or a tagline
Oh my god.
that
I
is
know.
just like used and emblazoned, well, for better or worse, everywhere.
yeah, for better or worse. But it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
So
And wait, let's backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
So you went on this trip for what reason?
Auto Week again. They said in an email like 3 weeks ago, they go, I know your other story hasn't run yet, but are you available these dates to go back to Germany to do a thing with Porsche? And I said, hang on. Yes.
Yeah, hang on. Let me check my schedule as you flip through like a
As
blank
I burn a
blank
calendar.
notepad. Yeah.
As I burn a calendar in a trash can.
Yes, I think I have some time.
Yeah. So then they told me a little more about the trip, 992s, and driving on 2 continents.
Yeah.
Which I won't even drag this out. You saw my pictures.
No,
If
you should drag this out
Okay.
in some.
Sure.
And let's fill in the okay. So hang on. Yes, you drove the cars. The 992, which is out now, however, I think is not something that most people have experienced yet, even just seen one.
Right.
And so you flew to Germany to drive them. Like, what did you do in Germany with them?
We drove. So Stuttgart is in like kind of the southwest part of Germany, and we drove to Leipzig. We drove through Nuremberg and then we went for lunch, late lunch, and then went to Leipzig, which is on the eastern side. And so we drove a fair distance in the cars on the Autobahn. And we got to stop at a cool museum. Like, I won't go too much in the museum, but it has like, it's just like a nerd. Like, if you're a nerd about like technology of transportation, this has everything from planes and locomotives and Formula One cars and all the great cars in history, like a Bugatti Royale and a Miura and you know, Porsches.
Very cool.
It was cool.
And okay, so you're on the Autobahn. You're driving in your own car essentially. So you're solo.
This was unique. Last trip I was partnered with Andrew Collins.
Yep.
Which was awesome. This time I was by myself, so it's like no one else to play the music or check the map. It's
so
like you're just driving, and I'm following with a group. And so we weirdly when we left the museum, I immediately lost the group because of a stoplight. A group of 4 total cars. Yeah. So they drove in a group of 3 cars to the museum. I went there on the Autobahn, not as quick because, like I said, so when you're on the Autobahn, I'll talk about this for a minute because it is a little bit dodgy with the speeds. There are speed limits, there's traffic, there are lane closures, there are construction zones, and it's all like a little bit more narrow than you would think. And it's great. It's really cool. But I just never had, when I was on my own, the full confidence to just like, I'm going to give it the beans right now. But then after we left that technology museum, we drove to Nuremberg, and it was like, we were driving for like 3 or 4 hours and on Autobahn. And I feel like we would rarely get below like 110.
Wow.
And I also, this car had miles per hour. It was miles. It was miles per hour.
Because it's a US spec car.
Because it's a US spec car. Yeah. So I kind of skipped over that, but we picked up these cars at Porsche One, all 4 of them lined up. And these are US press cars. So they are currently being driven by journalists in America. Actually, the yellow one that Rob had is in Road and Track's Performance Car of the Year right now.
Oh, nice.
So if you see pictures from that car was on with me.
And but you guys were the first.
The car had like 1,000 miles on it, like testing before. But these are cars that Frank from Porsche spec'd. So they are like the goodest spec you will ever see for a Carrera S. Like mine was a red, Guards red Carrera S with no sunroof.
Yep.
Rear axle steering,
nice,
sport suspension, like sport exhaust, like everything you would want.
Good
nothing
enthusiast
you don't.
spec.
Good enthusiast spec, like really cool. And we basically we had U.S. plates in the car, and we had these temporary German plates. And Frank signed off, picked up the cars. He signed off on the paperwork.
Yep.
And we kind of did. It was almost like doing European delivery of your own car. That's kind of how it was. It was a little bit like that. Like I get this car. And it is in my custody for the next 6 days.
Yeah.
And I picked it up at the factory. And that is where our adventure continues. So we drove on the Autobahn and we were moving. So I think there was a couple moments where it was unlimited and we like went for it, and there was, long stretches of pretty decent visibility.
Yeah.
And so I think I went like 171, which was
that's insane.
A little more than I went. I mean, it was like slightly more than we went in the GT3 before.
But
that
were you driving? You weren't driving the GT3 at that point.
I was.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
These you can say that because you were on the Autobahn, but if you were in the US, say for instance, you would have stuck exactly to the speed limit.
Yeah,
and
that's
not
correct.
a mile more.
I mean, if it's good and bad. Like I feel like I would be more comfortable driving that fast in like West Texas, where there's just nothing. But also, you don't know what might be in the road or whatever. Yeah. There's the feeling in Germany that it's like there's not going to be crap in the road or junk. Like everyone cares about it.
It's at least well maintained. But and the other thing too is that the drivers are at least aware. Like
a little bit. People actually still do some dumb bullshit.
Yeah.
Like you have 4 Porsche 911s like screaming past, and someone will like, I can slot in between these two, and it's bad. And it's because all the roads are either 3 lanes or 2 lanes on the Autobahn. Like it's never wider than that. It's not like I-10 where you have like 16 lanes. So 2 or 3 lanes in each direction is the max. So there are a lot of trucks.
Yeah.
And from traveling around Europe, and they usually stay in the right. Well, they're never the fast lane. They're prohibited, but they're either the right lane or the middle lane.
Yeah.
And so cars will go around them because you never pass on the right.
Sure.
Like we do here.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Of course. Because the left lane is always clogged up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So sometimes people will not maliciously, but will just go in the left lane to get around a slow moving truck.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you are impeding me and I'm trying to go
Yeah.
here. So there was a car that I felt going too slow. And I feel they were in the wrong for cutting into our group.
Sure.
And I flashed the high beams for a 1 second.
Yeah.
And they sprayed their spritzers at me. And then I felt like, and then I was like, did I display extreme aggression in doing this? Like, did I cross the line with this culture?
Also, how like passive aggressive the whole exchange was. Like, you flash your beams, they spritzed you with some like washer fluid.
Yeah. Well, and then like a true, I don't know what I am, but I definitely felt like shit for the next like 10 minutes.
God,
and still, 'cause I still think about it. But
the boorish American that you are.
I still think they were in the wrong because they cut in while I was going like 110 or something. It wasn't like,
Clearly, you were someone of importance in this motorcade of very expensive oligarchian cars.
It does feel almost like it's like this private highway for the super rich, not the Autobahn, but the left lane. Like it almost feels like this class thing where it's like I can, not me, but one driving this car I can speed through this at speeds that you are not capable of.
Out of my way.
Exactly. Like this is my own private speed lane. But so it got interesting after lunch, which was a super late lunch, kind of dinner. In Nuremberg, we drove the rest. It was about 2 or 3 hours into the night to Leipzig.
Yeah.
And then it rained, and then it was dark, and we were still going like 110 for most of that time.
Wow.
Actually, Rob in front of me turned on the rear fog light.
Oh.
Which was amazing. It actually made such a difference.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, for like visibility?
Yeah, for visibility. Because when it's just the brake lights, it's just hard to judge the distance. We're following in a group of 4 cars. We're going quickly. Visibility was pretty low.
Yeah.
The fog light, the rear fog light, it was just, it wasn't like it was just like a red brake light that was extra bright, and it made a big difference, and it was very cool. But
must be just so satisfying though, like being able to go the speed that you feel comfortable going at when the conditions are right, when the car is right.
Yeah.
Like, because say for instance, like from Houston to Austin, taking I-10 to 71, like there are times where you could just do like 120 and it'd be fine. It's just a straight, smooth road, but you can't because you'd be arrested.
Yes. Well, we'll get to where I experienced that exact thing later on, where not arrested, but feeling like, why am I limited to this speed?
Yeah.
In that exact car, but it was a cool drive. It never felt Larry or anything. Like I never felt nervous about going that fast in the rain, unfamiliar night and everything. One of the coolest imagery, I can't even, I couldn't take a photo or anything. I wouldn't have been able to capture it, but the weirdest imagery was besides that was seeing, like we went through as it was getting dark. So it wasn't pitch black. It was like blue hour. Dark but blue. Everything was blue, and we're driving like next to like wind turbines. Yeah, and it's raining, and they're just like towering directly over the road next to us, and they're just like fading into the mist, and it's all blue. And it reminded me, it almost felt like the like Hoth scene in like Star Wars or something. Just these like crazy like white things like shrouded. It was so surreal. It's like imagery I'll never forget.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a nerd moment. But the imagery of these cars with the blue, with the red, the brake light, just this beam.
Yeah.
Just it's so cool. It's just this perfect like beam of light across the back. Because on the 992, the latest generation 911, it's just a horizontal bar. Is the running lights. When the lights are on, it's just this bar across the back, and it's just the most perfect light. It's very clean. And it looks so cool.
Wraps the car. It wraps the rear end.
But when you're at eye level, when you're at eye level, it's just like a big minus sign. You know,
Yeah,
when you're sitting at eye level. And actually, I will say, I thought about this. I was thinking of you. When you're at eye level,
Yeah.
the Carrera script doesn't bug me.
Okay. Because
It looks different. Like
Okay.
when you're looking at it straight on versus if you're standing next to the car.
to explain that further from a typographical standpoint, from
Yes.
the 991 to the 992, but this is across all of the brand. They've adjusted the script to be extremely angular.
Yeah, it's thinner and pointier.
Yeah, and so it's like angry script.
I don't know if it's that. It's maybe. I mean, it kind of reverts back to like the old like Speedster and stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's weird because the heritage, the length of time that Carrera, say for instance, has been a standard script has probably lasted longer than when it was like Speedster and just
Yeah.
like really fast looking script, I guess.
Right. And in Speedster, and I think I misspoke. It was like on when it was like the Continental,
Yeah.
and like in the
Yeah.
50s. This was like in
But-
the 50s, kind of. It was kind of. This is what it reminds me.
Add
of.
on to that, it's going to be now 911 Carrera 4S or GTS or whatever you want to add to it. There's like a lot of lettering
There is.
going on with it, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really work out
No.
as well. But anyways, continue.
Well, the 911 badging is so cool too
Yeah.
because it's like the block letters.
Yeah, it's the block
Like,
letters.
It's
Yeah.
cool. As I've said, probably on here.
Yeah,
I think they should drop Carrera for a while.
I think they should too.
I think they should just have 911, 911S, 911 4S,
That'd be
911T, 911R.
Yeah.
Another tidbit about 911. Oh, I've got some tidbits.
Ooh.
Just some like lineup things
Yes.
from talking to Porsche people that I'm going to say right now. So I asked Frank, I was like, why was there not a GT2 non-RS for someone who just wants to like blast on the Autobahn with 700 horsepower but doesn't need a wing and all this stuff?
Yep.
And he was like, it basically would be the Turbo S.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
if you don't
That
want
makes
all
a
the
lot of
go
sense.
fast, if you don't want all the go fast like handling stuff,
Yeah.
like the hardcore bits,
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't be faster than the Turbo S because the Turbo S is so capable now.
Yeah.
And the Turbo S is your GT, but also with all that power.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had not considered that.
That makes
and
a
sense.
lot of sense.
Makes
yeah.
a lot of sense. The other thing, what was I talking about?
So after we recorded, I remembered the other thing. So here it is. After when they were coming up with the 911R during the 991.1, they had the idea to make a limited run 911R with a manual and a limited run convertible GT3 based car with a manual. And so they deliberately waited and they did the 911R for the 991.1 and then they did the Speedster for the 991.2, and they were each limited, and the Speedster basically filled that same role in the lineup as what the 911R was.
Yeah, so we went to Leipzig and then had dinner. And then I got up super early in the morning and we took pictures in the morning around town. I drove all around town, got the fuel down to 15 miles left in the tank.
Yep.
And we drove to DHL Leipzig.
And so that brings us to the next part of the story because you had to get it down to near empty for
Yes.
what reason? Why
Because it was going to fly across the Atlantic
Yeah.
in an airplane
Yep.
with 3 other 911s and a lot of cargo.
Including the drivers.
Yes, we flew with the cars on the plane. So we dropped off the cars at 9 a.m. We had gotten our photos done, and we dropped them off for like customs and processing. And like I shot a little bit of that. It's kind of boring compared to the stuff we got later, but they inspect them for everything
Yep.
and open it up, I guess, and then they like load it onto a pallet and tie it down and everything, and
And
they like move them around. And so
it's cool.
It took them like, I don't know if it took them all that time, but we basically dropped them off. I think we left there at noon.
Yeah.
It's like come back in 4 or 5 hours and they'll be boarding. We'll make sure that you can see the cars go on the airplane. And we go through like a little security check. I mean, I will say it was just as stringent and everything, but it was just weird because it was like this commercial
You're checking
airport.
You're checking a car instead of like a bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, we went through check-in and everything, and then we're able to take pictures. Actually, I had to provide the serial numbers of my cameras
Wow.
and iPhone and everything like a week ahead of time
Oh my
to
God.
do this. Yeah.
Make sure like it wasn't stuffed with a
No,
explosive.
not that, but just like I don't know, the security aspect of it. Just
Wow.
like to be allowed to be standing on tarmac next to an airplane
that
and
makes
taking
sense.
pictures.
Sure.
It's like they want
Yeah,
some
because
kind of record.
you have like a certain freedom that like the general public does not
Yeah.
have in movement around like airplanes. and
Exactly.
things.
Exactly. So
And if you had not already been following along on social media, check out some of Kevin's pictures on his Instagram at Capturing the Machine
thank you.
of like the cars being loaded. It is just cool.
It's a huge plane. So it's a 747-400. It's this plane was a 1989 Malaysian Airways aircraft. And then at some point, I think 20 years, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was converted to a cargo plane. And that's kind of the life cycle for these things.
Yeah.
So they left the top deck as passengers. So it's just very small, like
Yeah.
occupy, like 10 people could fit. And then the rest of the plane becomes cargo. So they
Yeah.
load up these cars, and it's like they load it up to like 4 stories or
Yeah.
3 stories, I guess, on this elevator forklift things. And they just load it in there. And the turnover that they do is pretty incredible. How quickly they load and unload a plane.
Yeah.
Because that's all they do there. This hub, it's this DHL hub in Leipzig. I think it's the busiest DHL hub in the world.
Yeah.
And it was
And
very cool.
the car itself, when you look at some of the photos, I don't know if you posted those photos, but the cars are in the hold, but there are also like a million DHL packages just like
Yeah.
in containers all around the car.
And the
It's-
containers are like shaped like it's like imagine a box, but then one side is like a curved arc.
yeah.
So it like fits in an airplane. So
Yeah.
you can fit 2 of them side by side, and it hugs the kind of the outside of the plane.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they loaded the 4 cars in and all these other boxes, and but you could still walk around like the perimeter of the
Yeah.
aircraft, and we were able to do that during the flights.
Yeah.
which is just so
That
cool.
is crazy. And we were discussing this, just one that I had never considered that this was a thing, that if you wanted to overnight a car, you can, if you're willing to pay the fee. And not only that, but I mean, it's just crazy that they have this all in place and ready to go.
Yeah.
You can just do this. And I'm sure there are people who, that'd be a great what a great like vacation if that was your thing and you could actually pull that off. Is that you could just fly your car somewhere. And we're speaking with listener of the pod, Ilya, who said that people do this all the time. Like
Yeah, like he's done this before. Like this is all like we can't even imagine it.
yeah,
And he's like, oh yeah, he did this. This was like normal life for him. Was like moving a Bugatti EB110 like across different continent, and like he did all the paperwork and all this shit that I didn't have to do. Like
Yeah.
I actually, they gave me like I got like kind of a media kit, and it had more stuff about the Porsche exclusive manufacturer and about
Yeah.
like European delivery, and it also I had like all this customs paperwork
Yeah.
for that car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, someone had filled this stuff out. Like I never did. Like I didn't
Someone
do
did,
I didn't do
but
any of this work.
that's amazing because I've always thought about that. Like if you did European delivery, that means that for most people, for most cars, like if you just bought like a Volvo or something, and you got European delivery, you fly over there, you drive your car around, and then it goes on a boat, and you don't
Yeah.
see it for like 6 weeks, basically.
Yeah.
But if you wanted, in theory, you could pay a lot more.
Yeah.
and,
Probably about 10,000 euros.
yeah, and then have the car there the next day, basically, with you in the
Yeah.
United States.
Same day.
Same day, basically.
Same day.
And in theory, because that's what's neat is that, and I don't know that we came to a conclusion about this, but if you ship your car whether or not it's included in the fee, it's hard to say. But you ride along with the car, and you're there. You drive it off because you're the handler of the car.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was a cool and incredible
It
experience.
was incredible. And I honestly, and I'm like a bit of a aviation geek, and I've never flown on a 747,
Yeah.
and it has the top deck, and
Yep.
like I got to do that, and I didn't know if I ever would, because they're
Yeah.
kind of being phased out of commercial service, at least especially
And-
in the US.
I mean, even though it was an old plane,
Yeah.
what a way better experience than even like a modern luxury first class flight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was cool. It was an older plane. Like the seats were older and it's not like the lay flat seats, like what turns into a bed, like like normal business class international, with the cocoon seating and stuff. But I was comfortable. I slept pretty well for a little bit. And then it's like, we were talking to the flight crew. This guy Ian on the flight crew was a car enthusiast,
Yeah.
and he has a oh god, I'm gonna fuck it up. It's either a Typhoon or a Cyclone.
Oh, so he
Yeah.
has a truck, a fast truck.
A cool, interesting truck.
Wait, so does he have a pickup or does he have the?
He has the SUV.
SUV. So
Yeah.
that is the Typhoon.
Okay, you are just as sure of this as I was.
What
We're
does Tom have?
I don't know.
I think it's a Typhoon. Anyways, okay.
Anyway, yeah, I forgot Tom had that. So, it was just cool. We were just standing in the kitchen of the plane, which
Yeah.
was basically open. So
Yeah.
everyone that I talked to was super curious about what the accommodations were like, and it was like what first class was 30 years ago. We were upstairs, you climbed up a ladder to get to this part of the plane, but we were able to go in the cockpit, and then our cabin was directly behind the cockpit, and it was only maybe 30 feet long, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Because they're in the hump of the 747.
Yeah.
So there's a kitchen there, and they're like, oh yeah, just help yourself to a meal. Ian was oh yeah, Leipzig, they have really good food. They restock the plane at every
Yeah.
stop. So he's like, Leipzig, they have
And
really
it's
good food.
self-service.
Yeah, it's self-service. You cook it in the thing. He helped us out. I didn't
Yeah.
want to start a fire on the plane. He helped us out. But it was good. I ate well. I slept well.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And then we were just standing around shooting the shit. All the lights were off in the cabin mostly,
Yeah.
except by the kitchen. So we were just standing over there, just chatting and talking about cars, and it was awesome.
But also, was the cockpit door open?
Yeah, it was just open
It
the
was
whole
just
time.
open, so you actually got to just go in there.
Yeah, there was actually a jump seat. You could just hop. You could sit down. Rob, actually, one of the other people on this trip with me, he had the yellow 992. He put on the headphones and listened in. He actually so JF, you may have heard of JF Musial. He was doing video and photos for Porsche. And he was on this flight, and he I think recorded the takeoff
Oh, cool.
from the cockpit,
Yeah.
and then Rob sat in the cockpit for the landing.
Nice.
But I saw it mid-flight. I mean, we
Oh,
got
man,
up.
that'd be so cool.
We got up over the clouds. We took off, and it was dark, and then we get up at altitude, and we're all kind of standing around because it's no seatbelt warnings, whatever. And just to set the stage, I think there was 9 or 10 people on the plane total, including crew, 4 or 5 crew, and us. And you could just see out the cockpit. It was just red.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the pictures, my pictures, even with my DSLR, do not accurately show the
'Cause
colors of
you-
what it looks like, because it's out the window.
Yeah.
We're flying towards the sunset, and we're over the clouds. And it was pure red.
You're
It was
looking
so
through
weird.
the windshield.
The windshield of the plane,
Yeah, you're looking through the
straight into the sunset, and the
Yeah,
sun has
this-
just already set, and now it's just
sliver panoramic of these 6 panes of glass or however many there are, and you just see this red
Yeah.
clouds and
Yeah.
surreal basically.
Yeah.
There's zero chance on a commercial flight that you will ever see
ever
like that. So
Even Ian was like, I gotta go get my camera, because
Yeah.
I think that was an unusual sunset
Yeah.
situation. It was cool. This flight, I think it normally goes Hong Kong, Leipzig, Cincinnati, and then Anchorage. They have a hub in Anchorage.
Huh.
And then they do it all again. So they usually do Leipzig, or they usually do Hong Kong,
yeah.
Leipzig, Cincinnati, and then maybe they repeat and they go back, and that's kind of where they go. But occasionally they go to Alaska. and it makes it like basically an around the world trip when they do that.
Wow.
Which is cool. And they just do this like literally every day, which is crazy.
That is crazy. I
They
mean,
do. So Ian said it's 20 days on and then 10 days off, I think. So
that's a crazy, like, I mean, it's cool. I wonder if it ever gets tedious, but that's so cool. I mean, just basically, I mean, yeah, for however long those flights are, you're just kind of working. You're
Yeah.
in another country, another continent. You might stay for like a night to rest and then you keep going.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
We took off at 7 p.m. We landed in Cincinnati at like 11 p.m.
Yep.
They had the cars off within like 30 minutes.
Wow.
And yeah, so they load
And you were on the road.
Yeah. So the like technicality that probably will not make it in my article is my specific 992. By this point, it had 9 miles left of gas, and basically someone from Porsche was gonna drive it and fill it up because it was like we could go straight to the hotel, and someone from Porsche with their credit card could go fill it up.
Yeah.
And it was easier that way. And so they had to make another stop anyway. So it's like, okay, do that. So, but I still drove mine off the pallet.
Yep.
So I did drive the same car
That's
on
cool.
2 continents within 20 hours.
Yeah.
Which was just
That's insane.
awesome.
Yeah. Boy, that is, I mean, like, that's seriously rare territory. Like,
Yeah.
being able to drive the same car,
Yeah.
like, within the same day.
Well,
basically.
and it's so funny that like the cars, like not mine, but I ended up driving the other red 992 back to Cincinnati, which is only like I say back to Cincinnati, you know, from the airport to the downtown, which is like 10 miles. But yeah, like the gauges were all like fog, like the digital screens were all like condensation on them
Yeah.
and stuff, and the brakes were like rusted
Yeah.
from like water vapor and going to 30,000 feet and then back.
Yeah.
Like a car is not accustomed to that.
No, yeah. Or, like, you just don't see it because it's basically
Yeah.
been cleared up by the time it arrives.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So, so I drove to Cincinnati, stayed overnight, and then they let us rest a little bit. And then we drove over the next 2 days to Atlanta, and we got to go to Tail of the Dragon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What a
So
cool thing.
we really experienced the cars in such different circumstances. The next day drive, like nothing really notable. We mostly drove through Kentucky. It was kind of funny because we kept having, I'm getting like into the really tedious stuff. It was basically 3 of us and 1 drive leader from Porsche, different person. So Frank stayed in Germany. You may have seen Matt Farah, Smoking Tire. He did the same experience, but a day later than me. So he was on the next wave. You know, Porsche shipped like 6 cars total over. So his group only had 2 cars. They did this, and I was not a part of that. We didn't overlap with him, but Frank from Porsche stayed and did his shipping and everything, and
Yep.
then Frank drove with him back to Atlanta.
Okay.
So we had someone from PCNA, very cool, and he actually drives Tail of the Dragon all the time.
Wow.
And he has like a 718 GTS, so
Yeah.
he knows the road. So it was cool having him as a guide.
Yeah,
it was
definitely.
really cool. And but the first day we were driving, and it was like we had to go to Cincinnati to Knoxville. And we were going to do some twisty roads and stuff. And we kept like, one person got lost, one person this. Like we had radios. Actually, this made it feel like, honestly, like Top Gear.
Yeah.
Like it's such a cliche, but it's like we did this crazy experience that no one does.
Yeah.
And then we've got radios, and we're just like having commentary about the scenery to each other. And it was just like very absurd.
No,
It
that's
was
so
just-
cool. I mean, of course.
it was just funny. So we drove. So about, I don't know where I'm going with this, but driving into Knoxville, we all like, we had been delayed by various things. We were behind schedule, and I was like, I saw something amazing. I'm going to split off and take pictures.
Yep.
I'm going to catch you guys in Knoxville. And Rob did the same thing because he
Yeah.
wanted to visit. Like his daughter was like in a school that was like, or like he was in college, like right off of one of the towns we were going to. So it was like we all split apart, and we just regrouped in Knoxville that night, and it worked out great because I got some really good pictures that I had wanted to take of like landscape, and like I found this weird building with all these leaves on it. So It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. And then the next day we stuck to the group because we did Tail of the Dragon, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But it was like we did Tail of the Dragon one time through, and I was like, I don't feel the need to do it more.
Yeah.
I didn't
yeah.
want to, like I was
'Cause
like I don't want to crash the car. Like it's really really tight.
Tail of the Dragon is how many turns and how many miles?
It's 300 turns, give or take, in like 11 miles.
Oh man.
Something. You're just crossing
Constantly,
like arm constantly.
yeah.
It's so crazy because there's actually like, not even exaggerating, like 8 corners where there's like photographers that just sit there and take pictures and then
Wow.
post them online, and like you can buy them and
Yeah.
stuff.
Which, I mean, that's crazy because we, like, that sounds like a maximalist version of when we did GMR, which was Glendora Mountain Road and just in the canyons of California
Uh-huh.
or LA. And that's like, I forget what it was. It was like I forget how many turns it was in like a 20-mile stretch, basically.
Yeah. That's
But-
a lot faster. This is a lot tighter.
Yeah.
But it's also like kind of banked on tight. It's a lot of hairpins after hairpins, but it's also kind of banked. Like
But-
you wonder if like back when they made this road, they're like, oh yeah, and we're gonna bank it to make it easier for the farmers to like drive their trucks through. You know,
Yeah.
like not thinking about top speed, but just thinking.
Yeah, it's not speed, it's just like
it's just like ease, like
Safety and ease, yeah.
exactly. And then it's like now
And
it's
it's
like
crazy.
people go
And now
through-
people are going crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but just thinking about that, like, I mean, some of those, like, just on a public road like that, but that's so cool that that is a publicly accessible road.
It's beautiful. I mean, and it was great. Like it was cool. The car was awesome. I'll get into that, but it was a neat road. I'd
Yeah.
never been there.
Yeah.
I had heard a lot about it.
Sure, yeah.
And it was fun, and we had a good guide, and we didn't have any traffic because it was like 9:30 when we got there in the morning on a
Yeah.
Thursday. So you get there early, and it's all yours.
Ultimate experience.
Yeah,
Like-
totally. But the car, like mine was 2-wheel drive. There was
Yeah.
one moment where I felt like it got loose because of a weird pavement, not a pavement surface thing, but like a pavement grade change, like mid corner
Yeah.
type of thing, which is cool. I like feeling the car
Yeah.
alive.
And I'm almost, like, that seems like they would build that in a little bit. Like,
Yeah. But I mean, the car is just insanely planted.
Yeah.
PDK is insanely fast.
Yeah.
I had it in Sport Plus, but then the suspension on soft. Which, like, by this point, I was familiar enough with the car. I'm like, I know what I like. I know my settings.
yeah.
And Sport Plus is extremely annoying in any other situation except
Yeah.
for like on this or on GMR
Yeah.
where you want it to hang the revs as much as you
Yeah.
can and stuff like that. So it was awesome. But yeah, it was fun. I saw like Matt Farah posted, he's like, yeah, we got 4 runs in. I was like, I did not want to do 4 runs because I'm gonna like crash the car on the second one. Like I'm not, it's not that I hold myself in like such doubt, like I
No.
can't drive without crashing the car. But it's like it was so perfect. It was so fun. We had
Yeah.
a good pace. I got to like experience the car. I got to really feel it dig in
Yeah.
and feel what it could do, and I don't want to push it any
Yeah.
harder.
And
because
I-
it's just not a
I
safe environment.
totally
to do
get that because, like, GMR was the most aggressive public road that I had
Yeah.
ever done. And honestly, like, there are some corners, blind corners, where you've accidentally taken it a little too fast, or you don't know if there are other people that are going to just pop up out of nowhere, or cyclists, or etc. And the day that we did GMR was also like a pretty slick day.
Oh, when you had the 4C.
I had the Alpha 4C.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
we like that was
Wait, and we should mention I had the Alpha 4C, and you had an R107 Mercedes.
yeah.
Like an
86.
Yeah,
it was an 86 460 SL. Is that right?
something like that. Yeah, but like
It was like I
And
feel like mine had way more feedback, and I knew what it was
yours did.
doing, and
And-
you would probably look in your mirror and you see me like I was at like a 45-degree angle.
we switched at one point, and I could not. Yours was a hoot to drive.
It was fun, right?
Because there's this big boat steering wheel, and I'm just like heaving this massive like steering wheel to try to make any turn.
but there was good feedback, and it
Yeah.
rolled, and like you could tell what it was doing. Like
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
could throw it into the corner, and I knew it wasn't going to bite me. Whereas the Alpha,
No.
I had no idea if it was going to. Like I had no idea.
It was
what
so
was
neutral. Like yeah,
But I had no idea what was happening at any time. Like I was
Yeah.
like, this is going to be gripping right up until it doesn't.
sometimes yeah. I wondered where that kind of that just edge of threshold was. But anyways, yeah.
I mean, This is not like a driving ability thing or anything. I think on that road with two normal drivers, that Mercedes could keep up with that Alpha on that day with those conditions.
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
Because I was when I drove the Alpha, I was like, I do not want to push this car.
Yeah. Because at one point you would be overconfident, and then suddenly you're flying off a cliff.
It was just it was really wet that day, and it was foggy, and totally. But when we did, I mix up Angeles Crest and GMR.
Yeah,
we did Angeles Crest. That was way different. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun too.
But this road is much tighter.
Oh,
we did some roads in northern Georgia that are faster. It was funny. Michael from Porsche, he goes up. He doesn't do Tail of the Dragon super often.
Yeah.
But he goes out there. But he goes to roads in northern Georgia, which is maybe 2 hours closer for him, and he'll do those like on a weekend, before lunch. And he goes to this one barbecue place, and they know him by name, and he gets the same thing. Like he drives the road. It was really cool.
Can you imagine having? So we live in metropolitan Houston, which is flat and gridded.
Curves are banned here.
Yep.
Corners are not allowed.
We'd have to
It's a zoning
drive
issue.
nearly 200 miles to get to some actual curves and hills, not mountains, but hills. So those type of experiences are an experience for us.
Yeah.
Like getting to take, especially your own car. When we do the Hill Country rallies, the only time that we really get to move our cars. I mean, but you've taken your car to California before, but like for me, the furthest I've gone is like Central Texas.
We'll have to go like when me and Jordan and Chris Perkins drove back from Radwood, we found a really cool couple roads.
Oh yeah,
in between Houston and Austin.
Okay,
like it was cool as hell.
I'm into it.
So yeah, but the 992. Sorry, 993, 992.
Yeah. Sorry, not to interrupt, but before you go into the specifics about the car,
yes.
So you drove to Atlanta to Porsche North America's headquarters.
Yes.
And then was that the end of the trip?
That was the end of the trip.
And then did you?
Did I fly home that night? No, I did not.
No, you did not.
Houston was flooding.
Houston was flooding with Imelda.
I stayed at the hotel next to Porsche HQ, which Porsche HQ is this. PCNA headquarters is also where PEC is.
Yeah.
They have an experience center there, and they have a lobby, and they have a Taiken in the lobby, and they have a gift store, and they have a heritage collection.
Yep.
And it's all very
Did you
cool.
go through it at all? Or?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. There was, I mean, I went to the main museum, and I went to the heritage collection in Leipzig, and I went to this one. So it was like it would take a lot to blow me away. But there was a Carrera GT. There was one of the Carrera there was a 924 Carrera GT that was very cool.
Yeah.
There was a big 914 collection that was cool.
Ooh.
And because they're celebrating 9/14.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So there was some cool stuff, but it was cool. It was cool seeing the Taycan, and then they have like a 919 in the lobby. And apparently the building, they shot a bunch of scenes for Avengers there.
Yeah.
In the lobby.
Wait, why?
Like you said, like it's normal. And then you're like, wait, what? That is like the Avengers headquarters.
Porsche North America.
Yes.
Okay. I guess it's futuristic looking.
It's a cool building interior and everything. And
Whoa.
So pretty cool.
Interesting. And I guess you didn't, I mean, at this point, doing the PEC track would have been tame, but
Well, I got there at it was, I want to say 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So it was like the last runs were happening.
Okay.
It was just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But it was it was good. We drove through a lot of Atlantic traffic. It ended up being I did 970 miles on the road in the car, and then 4,400 in the air.
Nice. And
so you form a bond. You really do. I mean, if you have the opportunity to do European delivery, you're not going to fly on the plane with your car, but you're going to drive it.
An extra
you're going to
10,000
drive
euro.
Yeah, let's spend the 10,000 euro. But you're going to drive in this country where the car was built, and then you're going to drive it in your own country.
And it's not. I mean, I might be a little bit hammed up, but those Top Gear specials where they fall in love with their cars, no matter what it is. I mean, I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, you go through this elongated experience with your car through all these different
Right.
environments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to go back to what I said earlier, it was so hard to be on, when I was on my own, I'd taken my photos and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to drive to Knoxville. And I'm like, why is the speed limit 60 miles an hour here? Because I know this car can do twice this comfortably with, perfectly smooth ride.
Yeah.
And perfect AC and, ready for anything. And it's just sitting there. It's like, and the roads are worse. And it's just funny. But yeah, the car was good. I enjoyed it.
So your impressions of the 992?
It's funny because I feel like it is like a 991.2 that is just refined in every single way beyond. And I don't mean to say that short selling it, but I think about it. The last two 991s I drove were both manual, which is very unusual.
Yeah.
And so I can't directly compare PDK to PDK,
Sure.
but exterior styling, I love. We'll talk about that. We went to the dealer, but the interior is incredible.
Yep.
I really like the interior. I really like what they did.
Yeah.
You don't think of the 991 interior as dated or bad in any way.
No.
And then when you see it, you see the back to back, and it's like, what
man.
they've done is so cool because there's no other interior like this except like a G model where it's like where it's so linear and horizontal and
astonishing.
great.
Yeah, it's astonishing how they've improved the interior, which we thought, you go from the 996 to the 997 to the 991, and you're just thinking it's just getting better and better.
It does. And also it's you take a car that's already at, it's not really biased like some fanboy, but you take a car that's like 98th percentile of cars.
It's good. Yeah.
And then you just refine, you just polish everything. And it's like, now you can't find like shitty plastics on the interior. Like everything is this crazy like knurled metal, and it's awesome.
So after you came back, all this 992 talk.
Yeah, I was really gabbing. Sorry about that.
And I'm like, well, thanks for the invite once again. So we decided to go to
Gave me the information.
We went to the dealership, Porsche north of Houston, which has a great classics collection.
Yeah.
They actually service. We took the Celsior there. And so we'd noted that 992s were out, and there are quite a few available for sale in Houston. They're not necessarily driving around in Houston.
Yeah, I've never seen one driving around in Houston.
But we went and took a look because we wanted to I wanted to evaluate them up close, and we'd seen one at...
It was someone at the auto show.
At the auto show, but here we had variations. We had everything from... Well, the C2 and the C2 or C2S and C4S look identical except for a different grille in the back.
Yes.
And then there was a Cabriolet, which the Cabriolet never looks the best, but this one looks better than the previous generations, I'll say. Sure. But we sat in it, and while you spent extended time in it, getting to know it. And what's funny is I remember from the Houston Auto Show when looking at the car from the interior, and we couldn't go inside the car at that time,
right,
how weird the cup holder looked. The central one at the armrest, it looked like an AutoZone add-on, and I was wondering about that. And you said that yours didn't have that. Yours was a trapezoidal hole.
Yeah.
And then I think we discovered during that dealership trip, because we pulled out that add-on cup holder looking thing from the center console, that the cup holder is just removable. It's like this add-on thing.
But mine, like I don't remember mine looking so unfinished as when we took out that cup holder. And also, like, I have a water bottle that's not extremely large, but it didn't fit in that cup holder, so I didn't use it. And I feel like it would have fit in this one. I feel like there might have been a different insert.
It's just weird that because then there's the passenger cup holder, which is the ever-present German. It's the deck that pops out
retractable
of,
Swiss Army knife bullshit job.
And I have one in my E91 that, like, if you put a drink there with a passenger, they will kick it, and the drink will spill, and or the cup holder will also break, because it's right where the passenger's knee would be as they're getting out of the car. But that aside, the interior is spectacular. Like, it is truly refined.
Yeah, my favorite thing is like how there's that ridge. I mean, you've got the horizontalness, just like a G model or a classic 911, but there's that ridge, and it's almost like the extra foam on
Yeah.
the corner of the ridge, and it's got that same kind of sponginess like an old car. Like it's just
This is
it's
kind of like
great.
a shark nose, but for the
Yeah.
interior.
Yeah.
But not only that, just like I thought that the 991 and 981 718 interior, like that was pretty high quality for like having experienced past Porsche interiors. And I thought, that was like that's pretty good. It's modern, it's high quality. But then you go into the 992, and it is another level. It's not an evolution;
Yeah.
it's another level.
Yeah.
Like the quality is so much better because we hopped in a 992 C4S or something,
Yeah, I think
and
we
then
hopped in a Carrera T.
we hopped into a Carrera T, a 991 Carrera T, and immediately you just felt like you were in an old car.
Well, yeah, the 991 in the interior felt like a 997 interior made with much better materials, but just the 992 is a true rethink.
Exactly that, yeah.
And it's great, and it's got the it's got a real tachometer, and then
Yep.
it's got nice
Yeah.
well cut glass for the other dials.
It's a really good transition for the 911 going from all analog gauges to
Yeah.
mostly digital gauges, but the tach is analog still. But the curved LCD looks really nice. I don't know if it's OLED, but everything about it is just it's well thought out.
Yeah.
And I didn't know when I first saw the 992 when it was camouflaged as a prototype or mules, etc. If I was going to like the shape of it, but I think it is the best modern 911. It's best modern looking 911, and it harkens back to what I thought was already a good looking car, which would be the 996. Like it has the flat or the straight front hood cut line,
Yeah.
which I think looks really good. And then they went to 997. Well, 997 is also not a bad looking car, but they went to the Smile.
Yeah.
And then 991, which was
Ooh, I
fine.
wonder how they're gonna do the Smile vent.
Oh yeah, I don't know, but 992 is very inoffensive.
Yeah.
And they've done it well. I don't know how they're gonna differentiate things. I mean, like the wide body thing is great that now every car is wide body, but that was kind of a special thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange now that you won't have that. The only differentiation now is a grille material
Yeah.
finish.
I mean, presumably the turbo will be wider, right? Maybe.
Maybe I don't know.
I don't know if you can go much wider.
That's pretty wide. It's pretty wide.
It's pretty wide.
Yeah. So, but man, yeah, seeing a 992 in person, very high quality. The door handles still freak me out, even though I just experienced them for like a second. But
Yeah.
um,
I mean, the nice thing is it's not like a Tesla door handle. Again, it sounds
Yeah.
like we're shitting on Tesla, but where it does work,
you can
still
manually yeah,
override.
Yeah. But again, kind of curious that they made it mechanical or motorized for some reason. I mean, it's flush, I guess, so that's kind of nice.
I
But
don't know.
It's more
my
weight.
hypothesis is they obviously did these door handles for Aero.
mm-hmm.
My hypothesis is maybe there's some ergonomic Euro test where it's like if you have to pull it all the way out from flush,
yeah,
it's like, if you do that 9,000 times in an hour, you will get this repetitive stress injury. So if by having it stick out 45 degrees and then you only pull it the last 10 degrees, you will not get that injury. I'm serious.
guess.
That's my theory.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like before, it would have just been like the I guess the
The phone handle,
the phone handle, yeah,
which
so
is
just like a
less aero.
hook.
This is much more aerodynamic.
Yeah,
That's why they did it.
but the phone handle was done for safety reasons originally, at least, because it gave you more leverage to yank on a door that was stuck. But yeah, so okay. I mean, it's interesting. It's weird because when you go up to it, because the early cars will not have comfort access
It's an
or whatever
option.
it's called. Yeah, it's an option rather. So that means that it's flush when you walk up, you unlock it, and it pops out. But if you don't have comfort access, I guess
When you unlock it, it pops out.
Okay, yeah. But it
If
eventually
you have
returns.
comfort access when you walk up, it pops out. If you
It's
don't have comfort
weird.
access when you have the key and you unlock it, it pops out.
Okay. Otherwise, if you leave it alone for a bit, it retracts, and then you yank on it again, and then it pops out, and then you can open it, or I guess you can force it open too.
You can manually override.
Yeah.
I will say it is a lot less annoying than the door from a photographer perspective.
Yeah.
It's a lot less annoying than the door handles on the Jaguar F-Type, which
Oh, the push in.
well, it's not only that, but with those, like I think I was photographing it and I had to like lock the car. Like I wanted the lights on, but I wanted the doors to be in, and I had to
I
like lock.
see.
Like, it was really weird.
Yeah.
Like I never found myself wanting the doors to like. Why aren't you retracting so I could take a picture? Like
Yeah.
they automatically kind of go back.
Oh,
in
that
and
sucks.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
These door. I mean, like I'm not a curmudgeon, and I
Mm-hmm.
like the idea of fancy door handles, but I don't know. Like,
I mean, I don't think there needs to be the electronic aspect. I'd be fine with it just being fully manual.
yeah.
Pull because they are sleeker and
I was fine with
it
it.
helps the fuel economy.
I forgot that they were motorized, and so yeah, when I first pulled on it,
Yeah.
if you pull on it without unlocking it or you have proximity, it's weird because you pull on it and it's a two-step. Like there's
a
like
little-
two
yeah.
notches or something. Anyways,
Yeah.
okay, we're going too deep into like pedantry here, but anyways, 992, pretty cool. Also, your trip, pretty cool, and
Yeah.
you would rate this as perhaps
It's the best.
the best
I mean,
trip.
it's the best trip.
Best
I mean,
trip.
Yeah,
yeah, that's really hard to beat.
it is.
The plane part just seals
Yeah.
the deal on that. So-
Totally. It was just surreal.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you can.
oh my god.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So look soon for this to appear as an article on Auto Week.
Yeah.
In Auto Week, it'll be in print.
Presumably,
Yep.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me talk about it for an hour.
No, and I think that might be
Well,
our.
I wanted to go just touch on one more thing. I did.
Yes.
I did a big 3-year article about my
Oh.
911.
This is true. We should touch on this.
Yeah.
Speaking of 911s and Porsche.
Yeah.
So-
my car turned 40. Well, it turns 40 this month,
Mm-hmm.
and my ownership turns 3 years old.
Yep.
We have not talked about this off air, but I was like, well, I make no secret that I was writing it, and I realized like the first week of ownership was like 9 paragraphs, and I was like, okay, the rest of this I'm just gonna skim through.
Yeah.
But the rest of it's told through photos.
Yeah.
But the first bit is like you weigh heavily in the article because I talked about how we went to
We
Blacksmith.
did.
Like,
I remember.
I got this car. It showed up in my house,
Yeah.
and I naively was like, well, it's a car. I'm going to treat it like a car. I'm
Yep.
going to hop in. I'm going to drive it. I have no idea what any of the things on it do,
Yep.
or that the tires are 16 years old.
Yep.
So we went and got coffee,
Yep.
and you had your new car at
Yep.
the time.
had
And it was just a good day. And I had the
9872 came in.
pictures in the article to commemorate.
I remember
so
that.
I'm going to back up because on my blog, we'll link to this, but on my portfolio site, I have a little section of posts that are not portfolio, that are one might say a blog, that are stories. And
It is a photo story of your
This is a
ownership.
photo story of my car and having it for 3 years,
Yep.
and all the stuff that I've done. And I thought I will compile every photo of this car, every milestone, everything. And it turns out A, it's a lot of things, and B, too many photos, and it was really hard to narrow this down. It was really hard to write this and
Yeah.
put this together. But I was really happy to do it. I was excited when it was done, and I was excited to share it. And
Yeah.
I'm
No,
proud of it.
It's a great photo story, and honestly, like it for some reason, having been there for nearly every moment. It seemed like it was longer. Like not the actual living through it was longer, but like having gone through it, it wasn't that long ago. You bought it in 2016.
Yeah.
And I will not lie. Like, so I had bought that 9872 Cayman. I think it was the same month basically.
It was like a week apart. But
Yeah.
our cars, like we bought them like a week apart, but yours arrived like 2 days.
Yeah.
Maximum 2 days before mine.
Yeah.
Because yours shipped slower for whatever reason, or
Yeah.
there's more paperwork, or I don't know.
Yeah. And anyway, so I owned that car for 2 years, and then I ended up getting an 86 Carrera because I had never ever considered an air cooled at that point when you bought
Right.
one, and it was
Yeah.
like, this is a cool idea. I don't know though.
Yeah.
Like, and then just seeing you, and you actually. So when you got that car, I ended up driving it, and it was such an awkward experience for me because I'd never ever driven like an air cooled or just an old car
Right.
with floor mounted pedals, etc. I was like, I'm just trying to keep this thing alive. I don't know how you're going to do this every day.
Yeah.
And then like through those 2 years, it convinced me. Like I was like, what am I doing? Like I want an air cooled, and then that led me down the dark path of getting my own.
Yeah.
And here we are. So it's
That's
all
amazing.
due to you, this pain and suffering
I
that I love.
don't
but,
feel bad about this.
Yeah. But no,
no.
truly.
No,
There's
that's
something
awesome.
But no, there is something about an air cooled Porsche that it leads you to wanting to use it to do things. Because I also, like in the year that I've owned this Carrera, it's coming up on a year in November. I've done more with that car. And this is now, like the Cayman was a daily driver, and every other car has been a daily driver for me up until last year. And this car, the 86 Carrera, is I garage it during the week basically, and I've done more with that car than I have with my other cars that I drove on a daily basis, going places, doing things with it, just being active with it.
Yeah.
And there's something about it. I don't know what it is, but it makes you want to get out there and be with it, do things with it, connect with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was watching you do that with your car for like your first 2 years that made me want
Yeah.
to do the same. And
Unlike the last year where I've only put 3,000 miles
Yeah.
on it in a year.
which is fine because that's what I put on my car. And when you dailied it, you put 20,000 miles on it. Or total.
in 2 years.
Total, yeah.
Yeah, I've put 23 on in 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a year ago was my big road trip to California,
Mhm.
which is crazy. It was like
Which-
exactly a year ago.
Which is even more amazing, like, because if you were to do that in a modern Porsche, which
Mm-hmm.
you had one, you had a Boxster, but it's not the same.
No.
Because-
It's like not an achievement.
You're going to get back.
Yeah.
Like in that car.
Or if you don't, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly, because the IMS blue or something. So
No, or some like bullshit like security key
yeah.
issue.
No, here you might throw a belt, or
Yeah.
you had that one the hot start issue, but
Yeah.
like otherwise, like the cars are.
Who was I talking to that I heard a theory about my hot start issue that maybe it was vapor lock with the fuel.
Oh, I don't know.
The fuel overheated.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Which
I don't
seems
know.
more likely than anything else I've heard.
I don't know, but I'm having issues with different kind of hot start. It's hot weather starting issues, but
luckily that's only 10 months a year here.
yeah, exactly. Anyways, so
Yeah.
cars are neat. This is our first maybe fully Porsche oriented episode.
This is not the first.
I don't know.
Can I tell you what happened on Tuesday, which was the anniversary day?
Yeah.
So as brief as possible. My
Yes.
wife Laura does not like this car.
No. In fact, what you did not explain in the story. In fact, you
No.
left out
I did.
completely.
Oh my god, it's the best anecdote.
Was that you had. So you mentioned that you accidentally won this car.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
What you did not explain was that you have
Yes.
a partner who, did not know that you were going to buy this car. You are an equal partnership.
She did not want this car and just said, "Look, so I won this. I'm gonna buy this." And she was out of town, which added the stress.
Yep.
And she was not happy.
wait.
And so,
I have to explain
Yes.
like my involvement in this, in that. So you bought this car.
I immediately called her and told her I won the car. I won this auction. Here's the thing. If I had said, look, I'm gonna buy this car and I don't care what you say. If I had lied after I won the auction, she would have been mad at me, but she would not have been as mad as she was when I said I already did this.
Yeah.
Like if I had
Yeah.
lied, it would have been not as bad.
Yeah.
But I was honest and I said, look, I won this auction 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
This is happening. Sorry for the late notice, but I'm telling you now.
It's coming.
And she was really pissed. And
She
I
was
thought
really
maybe she
pissed.
would get over it. And turns
Ooh,
out
it took
no.
a
Turns out no.
long time.
Yeah. So
And-
please go ahead.
Yeah, I remember that. And you said I didn't tell Laura about it, and send some of that this way, Corkmaster.
I just watched that episode again.
So, anyways, hang on here. I have to
Oh,
cork
yeah.
my own. This is a long, drawn-out story. I'm sorry. I know I'm not by the microphone, but I also have to put a bit of soda in this.
Oh, yeah. That's how you do
I
it.
feel like I'm Julia Child putting together a little recipe. Okay, so here's the story. I had just bought my Cayman, and
This was, if you in the article, this was a Friday. I specifically remember my car got there on Friday.
yeah,
And
I was just driving my car around, getting the feel of it, and I ended up
we'd
in
already
Kevin's
met for
neighborhood.
coffee that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, and I was just getting the feel of my car, and I drove up. I was driving around, and I ended up in Kevin's neighborhood, and I stopped by, and there was Kevin's car in the garage, and we're just kind of like admiring it. And Kevin mentions that, like, well, I don't think Laura's really happy that I bought this car,
And she hadn't seen it yet.
She hadn't
'cause she
seen it.
was coming home she was still at work.
and I don't think she knew it was coming that day, did she?
I think so, but I think it might have been, knowing me, it was one of those things where I might have said, oh, so by the way, da, da, da.
Yeah.
Like, I might have really muttered
Anyways,
it because to avoid
It wasn't
confrontation.
tangible yet. She was already mad that he had bought it,
Yeah.
and then it wasn't tangible yet, and so I had never met her yet.
I don't
At
know
that
if that's
point.
tr- Is that true?
Yeah, I had
Okay.
not actually met Laura at that point,
Okay.
and that's another long story. But we were sitting in your living room, we're talking, we're just, bullshitting for like an hour, and suddenly you hear the garage door open, and you said, "I'll be right back," and you disappear for like 20 minutes, and I'm just sitting in your living room with like your cat.
And she was sitting in the car, in the garage, in
Yeah.
her car.
And I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, oh, she's murdered him, is what's happened. And so I wander into the garage just to like say like hello. I think I did. I actually wanted to say hello because I wanted to introduce myself finally.
Yeah.
At that point, and she is not only not happy, but is visibly upset. And as it turns out, she had a bad day at work as well. But also there she is next to your brand new car, visibly upset. And here I am, third party, saying hello.
Yes.
I'm the man who has been hanging out with your husband like the last like year mysteriously. And that's because she also said like, did you also buy that car in the
Yeah,
driveway?
she said, how many Porsches did you buy? Because there was 2 in the driveway.
My car with
Or
the
you're in
templates were like
Yeah.
in the driveway.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I
Yeah.
think I'll go now. I think I'll let you guys deal with this.
Okay, so to make this brief, that pretty much sets a tone for where we are still. She,
Named it George
yes,
because it's the least, could be the worst name for it by way of,
we're gonna cut this out. So she said at
Yes.
that time she
Yeah.
would not ride in it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And she at the time she felt like I was, and I don't buy and sell cars often.
Yeah.
But I had the Boxster for 3 years,
Yeah.
and she felt that I had bought it and sold it too quickly.
yeah.
She is used to in her family, people keep a car
Yeah.
until it's on its last legs,
Sure.
and then you sell it for pennies.
Yep.
And I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so she thought I was going to keep that Boxster for a long time.
Yeah.
And when I sold it and got a different car, she's like, well, you're not going to like this car and you're going to sell it and whatever. And so she said, I'm not going to ride it for 3 years.
Yep.
That brings us to Tuesday.
Yes.
Because of reasons, was it Tuesday or Monday? Anyway, I took her car to get the tire patched during the day.
Yes.
I picked her up from work
Yes.
in the 911
Yes.
on the George anniversary.
Forced her.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that she would have a laugh about it.
Oh.
I thought it would be like funny. I thought it would be.
Wait, was she mad?
She was furious.
What?
She was so mad. Like, I offered to go back and get a different car, and I offered that she could get an Uber, and she was just mad, and she wrote it. And also, it was really loud, and she hates how it smells.
Wait.
Yeah.
I thought that she's ridden in it once before.
She has ridden it before. She's ridden it at least twice before, but she hates
Okay.
it. But it was like out of necessity. But this was a like unforced error. Like this was me
Wow.
screwing up, but she was so unhappy.
To be fair, you were just holding her to her promise. So
Well, apparently she had said that even after 3 years, she doesn't want to ride in it because she
What?
doesn't like it, and I should have listened.
oh yeah, true. But wow. Well, maybe when
Yeah.
you get this quieter exhaust,
Yeah,
and maybe because you won't have rust holes in your heat exchangers, it won't be as fumy. It will
One
be
can hope.
pleasant
yeah,
after all. And she might feel less objectionable about it.
yeah.
Wow, though. Okay,
Yep.
interesting.
That was this week.
Wow. Okay, so her sentiments are exactly the same as they have been as that day, that fateful day that I had walked into your garage when you two were having a private moment, and I, this third party, just
Yes.
peeking over the bushes, like, "Hey guys."
Well, my favorite thing was when she was like, "How many cars do you buy?" Like, that was. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
boy.
I'll determine how much of this I cut out. But
Happy third anniversary.
thank you.
Of like the horridness for your family,
We'll
but
link to that article in
Yeah.
the thing. Wait, so you liked it? You saw it?
I did, and it was wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
That's so
I
nice.
read
I'm
it like
fishing here, so
read it like midnight, and then had to repost it, of course. But no, it was a great like recap. It was a good photo story. I'm all about a good photo story. So, and it was, it was exactly why I ended up getting one. I mean, your story exactly is the reason why. You have if this car ruins me, it is
Yeah.
directly related to you, but that the things that you went through, because like the car is such a good steed for these type of experiences and adventures, like it's durable, and you want to go through it with this car. It's an experience. Like
Yeah.
I cannot express this enough. It is trouble to own one, but do it. If you can, do it, because it will be an experience that you'll never forget. Honestly, like you want to go and do things with it. So
yeah.
unlike
That's
a new
good summation.
yeah. So anyways, we've gone on long here, but it was a good story. I'm glad we
Yeah. Thank you.
had our special ep here, 9/11 ep. And I think it's a podcast.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
All
All right. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on New for 96 on Instagram at New for 96. And
No
email
ad.
us if you okay. And if you have complaints, which you probably do,
Yeah.
come on down to Funky Town at newfor96@gmail.com.
Yes.
All right.
Spelled out.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's the show.
That's it.
Bye.
Bye.